Good evening, folks. Mike Shrewis with the Antler Collector, and tonight this is the final antler off of the series of 5 years from the border brute buck. So I'm going to tell you the rundown, how this came about. Hopefully this doesn't last too long. I'll try to make it as short as possible. I was at the Iowa Deer Classic. It would have probably been around 2007, I'm guessing, 2008 at the latest. I get a phone call from Jeff Baber, who owned the second set off of this deer. If y'all been following, you'll know what the other videos are about. So it was the second set, the 220 set. I get a call from him, and he said, "Hey," he said, "talked it over with the wife." He said, "We've been thinking about it. I'll let him go." He said, "I tell you what, Mike." He said, "If you give us what we want for him," and he gave me a number. He said, "I'll put you on another antler off the deer." And I'm like, "What? Another antler?" I said, "Is it a match to the four?" He's like, "I don't know what it's a match to, if it's to any of them." But he said, he goes, "I believe it was the year before he was killed." I went, "Oh my God." He goes, "I saw the antler." He said, "I don't have a picture, but I saw it." He said, "It's about a 100-inch 5 point." He said he took it to the deer show in Columbia, Missouri, and they scored it for him at 100 inches, 101. I said, "A 5 point?" He said, "Yeah." And I went, "Oh my gosh." I said, "When can we make this happen?" He said, "Well, whenever." He said, "You can come down anytime, any evening." I said, "Listen," I said, "Jeff, I'm in Iowa at the Deer Classic." I said, "I will come to you right now." He said, "Okay." He said, "When can you be here?" And then he called me around 4 o'clock, and the show was coming to an end. We're basically leaving anyway. And I said, "I'll be there in 2.5 hours, so 6:37ish." And he was like, "Hey, that sounds great. We'll be here." I get in my truck, fuel up, and I'm on the road. I get to his house, write him a check for his antlers, and he said, "Okay." He said, "This guy's name is Bobby Ashby." He said, let me call him for you and see if we can't, get you guys together tonight." So he calls him, and I hear him on the phone, and he's like, "Yeah, I can meet him. I'm open." So he handed me the phone, and I said, "Hey," I said, "Do you want to meet at Cabela's?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's pretty close to me." I said, "I'll be there in like 20 minutes. So out the door I go. Shook hands with Jeff. Great visit. Appreciate everything he did. Thanks again. I get down to Cabela's. I pull in there, and I'm just kind of waiting down towards the entrance in Kansas City. And I'm facing this way, east. And he pulls up next to me, you know, next to the window here, the passenger window. And I see the truck coming, and all of a sudden I just see this come up in that dang window, guys. And I'm just like, it filled that whole window. And I'm like, to myself, I said, "You have got to be kidding me." It was the most impressive view of an antler I'd ever seen in my life to this day. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And I get out. It's cold. It's windy. 30, 40 mile an hour northwest wind with a raw mist falling. It was just cold. He said, I said, "Man, what's that thing score?" He said, "Well, I took it to the Deer Classic, and they got it around 99 and like 6/8, typical 5 point with a 3-inch burr point." I'm like, "Holy cow." I threw my tape on, and I had about 99, 98.6. So I said, "Man," I said, "would you consider selling that antler?" He goes, "That's why I didn't want to ever talk to you about it." He said, "I've known about you." He said, I knew you would want it, and I just don't want to sell it." He said, "I know how rare this antler is." He said, "It's half of a possible world record if the other side matches." And I thought about it, 99, 99, that's 180, that's 196. No, 198 with no spread. Give it a 20-inch spread even, you're at 218 with no spread. Or, I'm sorry, with a 20-inch spread. Well, the deer was wider than that. It was a 25-inch deer. I guarantee you this year that deer was 25, probably 26 and a half, 27. His beam flares out. It's wider than the killdeer, and the killdeer is like 25. So, you go, let's just say 99 and 99, that's, 100, like I said, 180 or 198. with a 25 spread, that's 223 typical 5x5. You take off that. This is assuming the other side matches. You're looking at a potential world record typical, and do it as a 5x5. A 5x5 with that look, that priceless look right there. It's incredible. So we as collectors know the look. It's all about, a lot of times it's about the look of the antler. And this tall G2, G3. Well, I had it official. Well, let me back up. I got to finish the story. So I leave there. He would not sell it for nothing. I made him an offer. He said, I can't, man. I can't. Oh my God, guys. I went home. I literally felt like my butt had been beat. I felt sick to my stomach. Like literally sick to my stomach. I realized then how addictive antler buying can be. But you know what? When you're a collector and you see something off of a deer you've got years and years and years with, it's hard to even think about not owning that piece. And he sounded dead set on not selling that. So I left there, and I'm telling you, I stayed in contact with him, and that first month was brutal. All I could think about the size of that antler, because I had Big Mo with me that night when I had went to Iowa. And when he got out of the truck and I held Big Mo up to it, Big Mo didn't look that big to me. And I knew right then and there, this antler is unbelievably special. It looked bigger than Big Mo because it's taller, it's more dimensional, and it's got taller tines. Even though it doesn't score as much, it doesn't have the mass, obviously. It's more of a natural, typical look. And it just caused it to look so tremendously big. So, anyway, I keep in contact with him literally on a weekly basis. And I made him another offer. I went up substantially. I said, yeah, I'm to the point where I need this antler. He said, it's not about the money. He said, I just can't let it go. He said, if I ever do, you would definitely be the one. So I left him alone about a month. I called him back a month later, 7 o'clock at night. I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, listen, Robert, I said, I'm going to make you an offer where probably, two fools met where you're not going to take it, and I'm dumb for offering it. And I made him an offer, and it was racks. And he said, let me think about this. He said, I got to think about this. I said, okay. So I knew I had him really thinking, because it was the most that ever been paid that I know of for a single if it were to come true. So, especially a typical. So the 2 days went by. I hadn't heard from him, and I call him that night. And he's like, man, I'm sorry, I've been busy. He did lawn care. He said, I'm sorry, I've been busy. He said, you know what? He said, is that the best you could do? I said, I tell you what, I'll do cash. He said, we got a deal. We got a deal. So I was at the bank early the next morning. I couldn't believe this was going to happen. I get the money. I'm driving down the road. It's two and a half hours. About 2 hours and 15 minutes to this place. I'm going by Lawrence, Kansas on I-70. And he calls me. He said, hey, I'm not backing out of our deal because we got a deal. He said, I'm a man of my word. But he said, I want to tell you, that my uncle, he said he's a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. He said, he called me because I had called him several times since you had been here. And he said he has not called me back yet. He said he always told me if I ever sell this shed that I got to give him first chance at it. So I told him what the deal was. And he said, man, don't sell that antler. He said, call that guy, tell him you'll give him $5,000 to walk away. And it gives you an idea. He said, tell him you'll give him $5,000 to walk away. I said, and then he said, okay. He said, I'll tell him that. He said, I'll give you what he's offering. So he called me and told me this. I said, man, I appreciate you holding your word, but that doesn't mean nothing to me, the money part. It's not about that. And he was like, I figured you wouldn't do it, but he said, I just had to let you know. So he called his uncle back and said, I got to sell it to him. He said, he's almost here and it's what it is. So he said, dang. He said, okay. He said, I get it, man. So I get there. We did our deal. I've got the antler. Um, the crazy thing about this shed, how it was found, I didn't tell you that part. He had a worker he owed money to. Or I'm sorry, a worker had owed him money. And his worker had found this while fertilizing a yard. Think about that. Isn't that something? They ran a lawn care, found this antler in a yard. Amazing. It's almost 21 inches tall. It's like 19/6 to here. I think it's 20 and 6/8 to here if I remember right. It's just under 21. 29 beam. The G2 and G3 are the same length, which is crazy. Same length, 16 and 1/8. That is amazing. So yeah, Dave Bolin has scored it. His numbers are on it. It's 98 and 2/8 on the 5 typical points, and it nets 95 too. It's got one sticker that's 3 inches. But I promise you, it's the biggest 95 you'll ever see. It's one of those antlers, and the look and the mass on the tines, it's just such an amazing piece. So, guys, it's just been a dream shed for my end on collecting, and it's going to be really hard to beat. But the story on it's quite amazing. I will follow up with this down the road with pictures of them all laying out. I'll do a video of it and show you all. But it weighs 3 pounds, 12 ounces. It's a little heavier than the Pasky. I'll show you the Pasky and this side by side. A lot of people like to see this stuff. This is burr to burr. So they both are real close in their own way. Truthfully, I think the Border Brute's prettier. That's what I think. I think the Border Brute has a more classic look, taller tines. It's just amazingly wide. The Pasky has the Pasky's beam is unbeatable, but it's tremendous whitetail, tremendous. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope y'all are enjoying these. There's the one I shared earlier with the... There's no comparison. So I just want to show this with you. I hope you guys enjoy these. I'm going to continue to do more. But this antler here is right up there with as good as it gets. We'll be in touch. Thank you. Just got back from the mall running the kid around. Just joking on the car. Had to have a little fun with it. But y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you.